Let's take a look at how you can control the way you're able to see, hear, and lock your tracks as well as your individual clips in your timeline. All right, so I have a sequence here, and we obviously haven't gotten to the point of putting all the finishing touches on ours. But I wanted to show you a sequence with more of the bells and whistles for this movie so that we could really explore some important aspects of track monitoring and locking. Now, as far as video is concerned, I have my interviews on V1. I have my B-roll on V2. I have titles on V3. And then in terms of audio, I have my interview audio on A1. I have my ambient B-roll audio on A2. And I have my music on A3. Now, there are a couple of reasons that I might want to change my track visibility. One is just so that I can check to see what a particular shot looks like without all my tracks displayed. So, for example, if I just park here, right now I'm seeing an image of bread, but if I want to see Esther underneath, I just click on this little eyeball here, which is the toggle track output, and now I'm seeing through to V1. I'll toggle that back on. If I come to this point in the timeline and toggle off my V3, I'm now seeing the shot without the title, or I can toggle off V1 and I'm only seeing the title. Now, when I do this, it's not only being altered for display, but also for output. So if I wanted to output a version of my show without a particular track, I could. So for example, if I wanted to export a sequence without any titles, I would simply toggle off my V3. Now, why would I want to do this? Well, maybe my titles are just quick and dirty placeholders, and I now want to send it to my professional graphics artist to design my titles for me. Okay, so no problem. I'm able to send my sequence out sans titles. The same goes for my audio, but instead of the little toggle track I icon, I have M and S for mute and solo. So if I'd like to isolate my interview audio, I can. Right now, I'm hearing it with the music.
Small family-run bakery with...
But if I just want to hear my interview, I can solo that.
Very small family-run bakery.
Or maybe I want to export a version of my sequence without my music so that my composer can work on it. I still want my interview audio and my ambient B-roll, so the easiest thing to do there would simply be to mute my music.
A civil war, and we've had lots of recessions, and barons are still made.
All right, now I only have a few tracks here, but if you have 10 or 20 or more tracks, you can see how useful this will be to be able to isolate exactly the tracks that you'd like to hear. Now, what if you just want to turn off certain clips instead of an entire track? Well, you can easily do that as well. All you need to do is just select the clips that you would like to disable, and then you can right-click and uncheck this, Enable. Now you can see that the clips are grayed out, and even though they're still in the timeline, you can't see them.
I love bread. Good bread is really lovely.
And of course, you can't hear them either. To re-enable them, just select and then right-click and enable. Now, right now, every time I select a piece of B-roll, the married audio is also selected. If I wanted to disable one or the other, I'm going to need to turn off this linking behavior. If I come over to link selection and untoggle that, now everything is separate, so I can select just my video or just my audio. If I want to leave link selection turned on and I just want to temporarily enable this behavior, you just Option-click or Alt-click on a PC, and that is also going to break the link between video and audio. All right, so if I wanted to turn off all of this audio, I can Option-click, or in this case, probably Option-lasso, all of my audio clips. My video is not selected, and then I just right-click and uncheck my Enable option. And now the clips are still in the timeline, but they're silent.
We've had lots of recessions, and barons are still.
And I'll just enable those again. Finally, another useful technique is the ability to lock tracks. And again, I do that simply by clicking on this little lock icon. When I do that, the lock closes, and you can see that the track has this cross-hatching on it. This means I can't make any changes. I can't even select the clips on this track. So locking your music track is actually a really common thing, because if you are making edits in your timeline, let's say, for example, I'll just perform a lift here, so I'm going to press semicolon. Now, even though that A3 was selected, because it was locked, I didn't lift out my music. I'll undo that. One thing to be careful of is locking a track that contains married video or audio. So if I lock A1, let's say I lock all my audio tracks, and then I move something on V1, like so, you can see that now my video has been moved, but my audio has not because it was locked, and now I'm out of sync.
Very, very small family-run bakery.
Okay, I'll undo that. So that's not as common a situation, but just be aware of what tracks you're locking. Okay, so as you can see, changing your track's visibility, audibility, and lockability are really useful techniques during the editing process.